Welcome to day 184. We are finishing Proverbs 30 and 31. And not that you have noticed this, but typically people that read Proverbs, they like to do one a day for 31 days. So it's the monthly book in the Bible that some people like to call it. And it's just filled with wisdom. But there's so much in there. Really, we should read it every day. But we also must read it not just to get it finished, but to learn from it. And there's just tons of stuff. And I'm not going to touch on that stuff a ton of stuff today. Just a few things that have come out of it. Excuse me. So it starts out talking about favors and all these things that is never satisfied. What are things that we don't understand? What are things that make the earth tremble? And I'm just going to do a couple of these things. So in chapter 30, verse 7, talking about two favors that he asks from God, and that I think they're really good things that we should all ask for. So it says, in verse 7, it says, "Oh God, I beg two favors from you. Let me have them before I die. First, help me never to tell a lie." That's probably one of the greatest things we could do. Helps with justice and following good things. Second, give me neither poverty nor riches. Give me just enough to satisfy my needs. If you live with that thought and you try not to be rich and you try to work hard so that you're not in poverty, your needs are going to be met. And that's the wisdom behind that. And you may end up getting more than just being satisfied. Then it goes into saying there are four things that are never satisfied. And we talked about yesterday the never word and never being satisfied. Death and destruction are never satisfied. And that's what it starts out with. Chapter 30, verse 15. There are four things that never say enough. They're never satisfied. The grave, death and destruction. The barren womb. The thirsty desert. And the blazing fire. Okay, and then it goes on to list a whole bunch of other things that are pretty cool to read and stuff. So the book of Proverbs has a lot of really cool things. And touches on alcohol, chapter 31, verse 6, and other verses. But verse 6, alcohol is for the dying and wine is for those in bitter distress. There's many verses in the Bible about not being drunk. There's nothing that says alcohol is a sin. But there's a purpose for it. And there's nothing wrong with having a drink and celebrating. But drunkenness is the problem. And we're not talking about that in here. It's just saying alcohol is for the dying and wine is for those in bitter distress. Okay, poor and helpless. Chapter 31, verses 8 and 9. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. So basically, if somebody's being bullied and they just don't have the spine to stand up or never learned to stand up, we are to stand up for them, and we're to help the poor and help the helpless. But we also need to know who those people are. And if we're sitting on our hands behind our in our wonderful homes and not doing anything, we're never going to find out who those people are. Speak up for the poor and helpless and see that they get justice. If they're not getting justice, then we aren't doing enough. And then we have a huge section at the end of this. I love this part. So I added this section to the sex part of my description of man and wife, homosexuality, and others. And I put this under the man and the wife because it's talking about the wife. So verse 10 through 31 are all about a wife of noble character is what it says. So I'm going to just mention a couple of these things. Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? Okay. First of all, the question is, well, who can? Because obviously I can't. I think that's alluding to trying to find a wife that is beyond measure. But then it goes in and talks about what that wife is and the good attributes of the wonderful part of a good wife. What makes a good wife? You want to know what makes a good wife? Read these things. She is more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. So stop right there. Two things. The husband can trust her, so she's trustworthy. She enriches his life, not just because he put a ring on his finger, and he better sure well know that he better be happy because she's in his life. No, that's not what it is. She's proactive to enrich his life. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. And goes on, verse 17, she is energetic and strong, a hard worker. She's not lazy. She doesn't sleep all day long. She's energetic and is a hard worker. She makes sure her dealings are profitable. Her lamp burns late into the night, meaning she's constantly doing good things. Not necessarily working as a slave. She's not the husband's secretary. That's not what it means. I'm touching on this because what makes a good man and a good woman is very important. Otherwise, God wouldn't put it in here. Right now, we're talking about what makes a good wife, who can find a good, virtuous, capable wife, right? And then the last thing about a good wife, some advice here. Verse 30. Charm is deceptive, and beauty does not last. So you put a gold ring in a pig's snout. That doesn't make it not a pig. Okay? You got women who are just distasteful and not nice and crude. They can dress up all day long, but they are who they are. The heart tells the story, and the more you get to know them, you realize, okay, you are a pig with a golden ring in your snout. And it goes on and says, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. That is the key behind a good wife. A wife who fears the Lord, understands what is written, what she's supposed to be doing, and follows the guidance of God, not her husband. Because God is the one who tells you how to be a better person. You be a better person, and everyone around you is blessed, whether you're a man or a woman. So, something a little bit off topic of what the previous day was, but all of these things in Proverbs have such wonderful things to learn from. And again, you are required to study. It is a commandment. You are to know the word. It's not to make you feel guilty. It's a blessing. So read it and be blessed. Become that person. Let people see your heart, and let God warm your heart so that when they see your heart, it's something wonderful. That's your day 184. We'll be back at it again tomorrow.